Hi, we're working on analyzing graphs on the day 3 notes. So in the past, what we've done is we have been given a graph and we're supposed to analyze the graph. For these ones, what we're going to have is an equation, and we're not going to have the graph given to us, but we actually need to graph it first and then use the graph that we've generated to analyze it afterwards. So looking at this one, right now, it's not the best to graph this by hand. We'll get some accurate points, but we're not necessarily going to get all of the accurate points in terms of the x and the y intercepts. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to desmos.com. So desmos.com, and you're going to click the big red Start Graphing button. And then this should pop up. We're going to type in our equation, y equals negative 2x squared plus 5x minus 2. We can graph any polynomial that we're given. And what I'm going to do for us is I'm going to look at a few specific points. If you just hover over and then click, you can see your x-intercepts, you can see your y-intercepts, and you can see any maximums or minimums. Those are going to be the important values for us. And so what I'm going to do, instead of re-graphing everything, since we're on our computers anyways, I'm just going to use technology for the win. I'm going to use my snipping tool, and I'm going to go ahead and just snip this picture. Because now that I have graphed it in OneNote, what I can do is go ahead and paste that picture, and I can use this image now that I have created it to analyze this graph. Okay, so we had to go and create the graph. Again, I used desmos.com, and then I just snipped a picture of it and put it in my notes now. So based off of this, now I can see, I can find my domain and my range and all of this information. So my domain for this one is going to be negative infinity, positive infinity. This graph should go forever left and right. One thing that Desmos says is that the graph just goes off of the graph grid. That means that there are arrows there. So the domain for this one is negative infinity to positive infinity. The range here is low to high. So this is starting down at negative infinity, but our high value here is dependent on this maximum value. Our range is going to go up to the y value here. So that's what I'm going to put here. It is the 1.125. And our graph actually touches it, so I'm going to use my bracket. My x-intercept I was able to find again with this, so I don't have to estimate them. I know for sure they are 0.5 and 2 comma 0. And my y-intercept here is 0, negative 2. Both I know that from my graph, and that's what my constant is at the end of this equation. In terms of relative minimum and maximum, my graph only has one turning point, and that's actually the one I circled up there. That's a maximum value because it's a high point. So my maximum here is 1.25, comma 1.125. There are no minimums. My graph never goes from decreasing to increasing. Let's go ahead and take a look at the increasing and decreasing intervals. So if I were to trace my graph from left to right, if I start on the left, my pencil here is going up. So this first half here is increasing. And then all of a sudden I get turned around and the second half here is going to be decreasing. And so if I'm looking at this from left to right, the increasing and decreasing are still looking at my x values. I know I'm going up and I know I'm going down. They're asking me when am I going up and when am I going down. So looking at my x values here on the left is negative infinity, on the right is positive infinity. My turning point happens up here, and so the value that's going on my number line here is going to be the x value of that turning point, so 1.25. And I said I was decreasing on the right half of the graph, and I was increasing on the left half. So if we're able to identify that, we can then just use these numbers for my increasing. It is negative infinity to 1.25 with a parentheses. Decreasing then is going to be starting at 1.25 and going to the right for forever. I know you might want to put negative infinity because the graph is going down, but because we're going to the right, again, we're using the x values, it has to be a positive infinity. Also, as a reminder, increasing and decreasing will always use parentheses for these ones. Okay, so for the next one, this is our end behavior. This is saying as x goes to positive infinity, as it goes to the right, where is our graph going? And the next one is asking, as it goes to the left, where is your graph going? So as I go to the right, if I were to trace my graph to the right, my graph here is going down. If I were to trace my graph on the left, my graph there is also going down on the left, down on the right. So therefore, on the right side of the graph, the arrows are pointing down at negative infinity. On the left side of the graph, my arrows are also pointing down at negative infinity. The last two are asking where is our graph above and below the x-axis. So if I were to take my x-axis here, there are going to be two different parts. One part here, this is f of x is greater than 0. And then these two parts here and here, those are going to be f of x is less than 0. So f of x is greater than 0. Those are going to be dependent on the x values of my x-intercept. I start being greater than 0 when x is 0.5, and I stop being greater than 0 when x is 2. For the other ones, the below, I start being less than 0 on the left of my graph, which is negative infinity, and I hit 0 at 0.5. So that's this first chunk on the left here that we're dealing with. Then we have the chunk on the right here, which starts when x is 2. But again, I know it's going down, but it's going to the right. So I'm going to still use positive infinity because on the right is positive infinity for my x values. On the left is negative infinity. Okay, so let's try another one here. So number 2, it's another one where we're going to have to graph it first. So I'm going to go ahead and pause, type it into Desmos, and then copy it here. Okay, so here is our graph. You'll notice that when I was on Desmos, I went ahead and I clicked the points to find my highs and lows and my intercepts. So for this one, you'll notice there are arrows on both sides of the graph, or there should be. Your domain then is going to be negative infinity, positive infinity, because it's going left, right for forever. Range, same thing, low to high though, you're going down and up for forever. There is one x-intercept. When it's something like this, feel free to round to one decimal place. So 1.5 comma 0 is fine with me. Y-intercept here is 0 comma 5 based off of where my graph crosses the y-axis. I do have two turning points. My graph goes down and then up and then down again. So I turned twice. My minimum is my low value. That's going to be this one here. That's my minimum. I'm going to say, again, round it to one decimal place. So 2.9 comma 3.5. My maximum is my high value. So I'm going to go ahead and write that out as negative 0.5 comma 5.2. Increasing, I have one increasing chunk. It is this middle chunk here. So increasing is going to be from here to here. My other two chunks then are going to be my decreasing intervals. So I have one increasing interval and two decreasing intervals. And as a reminder for increasing and decreasing, on the left is negative infinity, on the right is positive infinity. We're going to use the x values from our turning points. So the first one is negative 2.9, we rounded it. The next one is negative 0.5, I'm again rounding it. So decreasing is this first chunk, so negative infinity to negative 2.9. And then again with union, this second chunk over here, which starts at 0.5 and then goes to the right for forever. Increasing is this other one in the middle here, everything in between negative 2.9 and negative 0.5. My end behavior as I went to the right, my graph has an arrow pointing down. So since it's down, it's towards negative infinity. As I went to the left, my arrow was pointing up, so my graph is going up to positive infinity. For greater and less than 0, so if I look at this line right here, half of my graph is above and half of my graph is below. So above 0 starts all the way on the left, negative infinity, and it stops at 1.5. Below then starts at 1.5 and then goes to the right for forever, to the positive infinity. Okay, let's go ahead and have you try some of the practice problems below. Hopefully this helps. Feel free to graph everything on Desmos.com and then copy that graph in and then analyze your graph based off of that. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a good day.